board meeting Wednesday. Beyond the boardroom. Beyond the boardroom.
All right, guys, Brad Parker here. We're having another episode of Board Meeting Wednesday. Super excited to have my host, Ron Solsrud. Hey, Ron, how we doing today?
Doing real good. How are you doing, Brad?
Doing fantastic. It's always good to see you. For our listeners out there, just so you guys know, Ron and I have known each other for probably close to 20 years. We grew up in the same industry together. Petland have had many, many wonderful years collaborating and working on business together. And so it only fits that we would end up on a Board Meeting Wednesday episode together. So Ron, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Well, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Ron, let me tell the listeners kind of what they can expect, and then I'll give a little intro on you, and we will get rocking. So if you're a first-time listener, what we like to do on Board Meeting Wednesdays is interview very successful retail business owners that focus on using technology in their business. As you guys know, I was a 20-year retailer. I built FormPiper, a software product to help grow my business. And there's no question, the better you are at using technology, the easier it is for you to grow your business and ultimately scale into new locations if that's what you're looking to do. So we're going to interview Ron, and we're going to find out the top 3 technology platforms that he's using in his business, how it's helping his customers have a great experience, how his team is able to use that tech to invoke the culture that Ron wants to have in his business, and ultimately, how does it help him make or save money? To give you guys a little context on Ron, he is a Petland franchisee and has been in the ecosystem for 20 years. I was just at the trade show. It was a fantastic time where Ron was awarded the Distinguished Franchisee Award. So Ron, congratulations on receiving that award. They have not given that out in quite some time. So it was really, really cool to see that. But what makes Ron so special, I believe, as a business owner and a retailer, is the culture that he invokes, the time that he puts in his business. He truly is working with his team, evoking the culture that he expects, and really putting, the foot forward and just being a part of the community. You've been on your radio show for over 15 years, your TV show for over 12 years, like participating and really just spreading the great word of Petland and your business model and everything that you do. So I don't think that we could have a better guest on today to tell us certain things that are going on in his business to help drive success. So, Ron, you ready to get started?
Yeah, you're humbling me quite a bit here. Wendy and I, when we won that award, if you remember, Brad, I got speechless on there, and I'm not a person that gets speechless. I was like, where, how, what, when, and all that stuff. So what an honor to win that award. And Better Business Bureau did something a little earlier this year with the Torch Award, the highest honor you can get in the state, and then it's going to national. You do all these things over the years I have no expectations of winning awards or anything. I just did them because they were right. And then all of a sudden this year, all these awards are coming out, and I don't know if we're just growing old and they're like, hey, we better give them an award now, or how that all.
No, I don't think there is no question that that award was well-deserved. And for somebody that was so speechless, you still nailed it, right? Nothing else needed to be said. It was a great speech by Wendy, and you followed it up perfectly. And so it was a great sight to see.
Thank you.
So here's what we're going to do for our listeners. I'm going to ask Ron his top 3 technology platforms. He's just going to give them to us in no particular order. And then I'm going to ask him questions about each of those, and we're going to learn about tech that you guys can be using in your business to drive success. So Ron, what do we got? Who are the top 3 companies that you're working with today?
Okay, so just off the top, it's Cosmic Media. That's who we use for marketing, and their dashboard technology is what has allowed us to interpret things and make good decisions, great decisions. Then it's FormPiper. It's something that Brad actually developed. I visited Brad's store many, many years ago and learned about having multiple financiers is critical. And in fact, is really critical. Every day, it's so critical to have multiple financiers, and you've got a platform to do that. And then finally, Tenacity dog training, which might be unique for my industry. But what Calvin has done over there COVID is one of those things that it hits you in the face. You have to change things, and he came out with a huge winner. And so Calvin has developed Tenacity into much more than just a dog training company.
Excellent. So we got Cosmic Media, FormPiper, and Tenacity. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into each of those, and we're going to figure out how it's changing the game in your business. That way, Ron, so people like you that are out there grinding, if they're looking for that next piece of tech that can help them grow their business, you help them make that decision much, much easier. So let's dive into Cosmic. So Cosmic, I understand, I've worked with them for years, big marketing company. They provide lots of different services. But we're going to dial into the dashboard that you're talking about. So the technology that they're providing you so you can basically drive success in your business. How would you say that information and the way Cosmic is organizing things, how does it affect your customer's experience?
So a long time ago when Google AdWords was developed, and again, Brad, I remember when I think you called me and said, Ron, if you're not doing this Google AdWords thing, you better start doing it. And that was like right when it started. So back then, Google AdWords was easy. You just like put ads in and ramp it up, and you keep ramping it up, and you kept on getting feedback and customers, and it was a gift. We went from brand marketing to that online and getting customers that way. So it was just so much more efficient. But over the years, it has gotten so complex. Not only on the data that it gives you, you're like overwhelmed with the amount of data, but it also just putting it all together is so difficult now, especially with AI coming in. All of a sudden, Google AdWords didn't perform the way it used to. And now we're like, well, how is AI, how do we talk with AI? And the AI doesn't want to even talk. So you're like, jeepers, what am I supposed to do? So Cosmic Media has put together a dashboard, and it's dynamic. It's always like we're looking at what's happening, how are we performing. Google puts out these CGAPs and all these different things that are supposed to help us, but we find they're not. And so it's just a constant battle of how to make your money go further as far as advertising, because Google AdWords is getting very expensive, and the effectiveness is going down. That's a bad combination. So Cosmic Media, with their dashboard, we look at the data and find out, well, okay, what was working yesterday is not working today, so let's try it a little different here and there. We know that Google is expanding things and trying to improve things, but if it's not there, we got to go to a traditional way or whatever. So Cosmic Media has the dashboard that allows us to look at that and go with what the latest is working, literally week to week. For instance, just recently, it was last week, we used to just do like a radius thing for our advertising. So we had that area, and then we had some satellites and stuff that we were doing Google AdWords in our community and all. But what we decided to do, because things are getting a little topsy-turvy as far as our cost goes per customer, we ended up doing what we're calling a donut approach. And that is using more of the organic for the middle, for the hole in the donut, so to speak, and then using the Google AdWord on the out. So now we're doing that, and Cosmic Media is evaluating it on a day-by-day basis and looking at is it working better? Is it working worse? Do we give it more time? Do we let it do its algorithm thing and all that kind of stuff? So the dashboard gives us all this information, takes a very complex Google AdWords and makes more sense of it with real data, real customers from real places, and helps us just make those decisions to be more efficient in the future.
So let me try to tie that into the consumer, right? If I'm thinking about you trying to reach out to the person that you want to come in your business, if you're in that radius and it's more blanketed, right, then you're just hitting everyone, and not everyone is your customer. And so if you're able to dial into the information and understand who your customer is, then when you serve these ads, right, you're actually getting them to the people that are showing interest currently in your business, right? And you can educate those people. If they click on that ad, they get directed, say, to a landing page or the website so they can get the information and make a more educated buying decision, right? So what I'm hearing from that concept is Cosmic and their data is able to help you focus on the right customer.
Yes. Yeah. And they actually work with us because they do the website side of it. They're capturing that data. They're then looking, okay, we got these kind of customers. Did they turn into customers that purchased something? And if it didn't, well, then maybe that lead was not the right path. So let's change that a little bit. So it's all the way through process that they're able to see the data, not only just on the front end with Google AdWords, but on the results at the end as well. And then tie that all together to say, okay, well, then let's be more efficient here with Google AdWords in this area.
So my assumption, and you tell me if you've seen this happen. So now your targeting is getting better, which means you're finding the right customers. So those customers are now walking into the door, more educated and actually probably more your ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
Has the team been able to notice that the people walking through the door are more qualified? Like, do we feel like their culture is better because they know that the marketing is working better and driving people into the business? Like, are we seeing a culture shift because the marketing is driving more success?
Yes. Yeah. I love that because it's interesting that my employees or pet counselors give me feedback on the quality of people coming in. They're like, oh, all these people are this or that kind of a thing. And so I always take that information and go, okay, well, how can I do better? If it's in the wrong direction, how do I focus in on the right direction? So the pet counselors are seeing that it's incremental. It's nothing like, bam, everything's working perfect now. But incrementally over time, they're an important part of all this and give me that feedback. So if they're saying we're not getting the right prospects, then I'm talking with Cosmic and saying, hey, how do we do this? We need higher credit scored customers or whatever it is that we're trying to improve upon. And then get that. And then the counselors give us that feedback when they're working with the customers. Okay, now we're getting, better qualified customers. Now they're more eager to, buy our product and all that kind of stuff.
Would you say with these tweaks and being able to really dial in that you guys are seeing also more phone calls coming in and that, 'cause that's a really true qualifier of marketing, right? If the calls are up and people are answering the phone and the people calling are actually calling to say book an appointment to come in versus just getting your hours of operation, right? So have you seen that shift to where the team is excited to answer the phone because they know that they're going to be booking an appointment for somebody to come down?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And to be honest with you, right now, we're in a little bit of an upside down. And so Cosmic is working extra hard in that we need to be more efficient. I challenged them. I said, look, I'm going to decrease my budget with you as far as what we're spending on Google AdWords. But my challenge to you is I require that I get as many leads as before. That's not a good place to put them in. And so what I love about Cosmic is they looked and they took their team organically and on the Google ad and even in the social media platform and said, okay, well, how can we adjust things, Ron? Because you're telling us this is a requirement on your end and you're still asking us to perform at the level you are at. That's a big ask. And so right now we are in the challenge of doing more with less. I had to cut budgets because the market's shifting on me and I need to adjust to it. We used to be very fat in our Google AdWords spend. And over the years, I kept on cutting because it just was not getting an efficiency out of it. So Cosmic's been working on that side. But now I've really challenged them. So I look forward to giving you really good data in the future because I really threw a curveball and this was just last week. So we were getting good results prior to that as far as, oh yeah, the calls were coming in, but I was spending a lot of money on that. And that was my big challenge to them is how can we do the same thing, but with less?
So I like that we'll have to do a follow-up episode where we talk about the success of the exact beta because the third kind of pillar, right, with anything is how does it help you make money or save money? And what I'm hearing is the dashboard is giving you the information one to where you can tailor make your campaigns and possibly save money. And that's the test you're putting them in. I want to see if I can spend less money and get the same output based on having the data. And then ideally what will happen is you'll save that money. They'll be just as efficient, but more people will come in and make more purchases because we're targeting the right people. And so our revenues should go up, right? But
Yeah.
that's to be determined, right? But I'm assuming, we're in the middle of the beta, but if we think about the years that you've worked with Cosmic, um, I would say that there's no question going from the beginning days where we had Google AdWords, we were doing it ourselves, to the transformation of them taking over the AdWord campaigns and doing all of these things. We have definitely significantly seen revenue increases due to that partnership over the years.
Oh yeah, my initial trial with Cosmic, and again, this goes back to a Brad conversation. I had just used a big firm on my Google AdWords. They wanted to take control of it. I was doing it on my own. I was pretty detailed in it. I'm an engineer, so I was geeking out on it. And I was doing really well, and I was comparing myself to Brad's numbers and some other numbers, and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good, so I'm good. Brad came to me after I did this trial with a big company that said, oh, we can do it so much more efficient. Oh, we're connected with Google, all this kind of stuff. I said, okay, I'll give it to you for 6 months, but I am not going to increase my budget. You will get my total budget, and you have to be better than what I was doing in order for us to go forward. And at the end of that trial, they were slightly lower than what I was doing. And I took it right back. And then Brad said, hey, I got this company that I'm using and it's really working good. And I go, Brad, I am not interested in it right now. I just went through a trial. It was a total flop. And I think you called me like 3 more times just to get. Brad is an individual that wants to help other individuals at a very high level. He reaches out. That's the kind of level he is. And he goes, Ron, I really think you're going to benefit if you go with this company. And so after I think 3 calls, I went, all right, I'll try it. You're getting the good results. So, there's a reason for me to change and see it if it would work. And it worked huge. I think we got somewhere around like a 30% increase in efficiency when we went. So I was getting, for the same money, I was getting 30% more calls, more visits, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a no-brainer. That's the level Cosmic Media works on. They're always looking to improve. They're not satisfied with where you're at today. I work with them. I have a review with them every month. And in that review, I'm telling them, they always ask, what's your business concerns right now? And I go through my business environment, what's happening, are we up, down, all that kind of stuff. And then they have already been working on something to improve. And so we discuss that. Is that something that we want to employ? Whether they've employed it already somewhere else, what were the results over there? We then make the decision to make that improvement. And then they monitor it real quick, because in a week or two, if it's not working the way they said it was going to work, they're calling me or texting me or emailing me, say, hey, just want to give you an update. It was or was not working. We made this adjustment as a result. We went, maybe it was going back to a more successful strategy and turning that back on, kind of a thing. So they've always been really focused on improvement. This last bout that we're going through, I forced it, a pretty heavy change just because of our business environment. And I said, for us to be on the right side of things, I just need this to be the budget. So let's make it work.
To make sure that we didn't close their segment off, and they're in the middle of trying to drive success for you, because I know that they have, right? So
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's great context for everybody to understand. All right, so let's bounce to number 2. So number 2 was FormPiper. And I appreciate you bringing it up. And, everybody, we've already mentioned that is my company. So we always love to hear our guests use FormPiper. It does not happen all the time, Ron. So thank you so much. But why don't you give the macro context on what FormPiper means to you? And then let's dive into ultimately, how does it give your customers a better experience? And when you're thinking about the customers too, Ron, think about like pre-FormPiper and post-FormPiper. Like, what has FormPiper done for that customer experience in the business?
Okay. So again, and here, audience, so Brad and I didn't work on the front end. Oh, let's get these companies talked about in this format. I just picked them. These are the ones that make the biggest impact on my business. So for FormPiper, pre-FormPiper, I again was working with Brad. Does that go back to 2009? That financial crisis thing. My store used to outperform his store hands down, we just were crushing it. Then that financial crisis occurred, and I saw Brad's store going up because we would always share our numbers and all that kind of stuff. And mine was going down. And I'm like, wait. And then he passed me. And then he way past me. And I said, okay, we got to figure out what Brad's doing. And Brad has always been the one to say, come on down. We're going to show you everything, from start to finish. And so we made a visit down there. And I said, so why are you able to do this? And one of the big things was having multiple financiers. We went from having one financer prior to 2009 to maybe two, but then we lost all of them, and that was our downfall. But Brad was going up, and I'm like, well, how is he going up? And so I knew I had to get more financiers for my customers, because customers, I'm one of them. I like to spread the payment out over time. I don't want to put all that money down and tie it all up into that one thing. I want to have it spread out over time. So it's a nice, easy way to get what I'm looking for and all that. So that's what I want to provide to my customer. So Brad, during that visit with Brad, he kept on talking about, I've got so many financiers. That's the key to this. And so we started picking up multiple financiers. Well, we then started finding out that's a lot of work, because you're filling out these applications online. Back then, it was nowhere near as automated as it is today. And it was definitely a lot of work, because you're filling out all these forms, clicking the submit button, waiting, and all that kind of stuff. And over the time, Brad was the next step. He's always looking at the next step. And he found where he put this platform together called FormPiper, where you put all the data in one time. So this is helping the customer too, by the way, because they're like having all these forms that they got to submit. And now we've got it down to that one. So you fill out that form, click submit. It's all well documented. All the laws are satisfied as far as signatures and proofs and all that kind of stuff. And it's documented so that I had so much paperwork that I was maintaining during those pre-FormPiper days. I had file cabinets all over I was storing them at my house, but you got to have them for 7 years. It's filling up area that I want to use, kind of thing. And so FormPiper now has that all in the cloud, all that kind of stuff. And it's been proven that it's all the right stuff is there. So now we just go in there, fill out FormPiper. It then submits those to all the different financiers that we're using, and our customers are more likely to get approved. I'm going to get a higher percentage approval. I get happier customers, because when we're not able to send a puppy home with a customer, that's not a pleasant situation. They get angry, because we all thought this was going to be a dream, that we were going to help, match the right pet with the right family and meet the needs of both. And then all of a sudden it's not. And so our customers were really angry walking out the door. Now we have much happier customers, because we're getting way more approval rates, because we're doing the multiple financiers, and it's not taking anywhere near as long. It used to take an hour to get through all that stuff. Now it's just like minutes.
Agree with you on that. We actually track that data very highly, and it would take us about 30 to 35 minutes to go through all of the options one by one with the customers. And it was a lot of hand holding, because if you have to tell your customer that they were declined and they have to fill out another application, and it's just not a great experience for the customer. So to have them fill out one application, and then have those multiple responses come back with a very, very high approval rate, it's a game changer for that customer experience. Like, you nailed it. More happy customers going out with, the product that they were interested in taking home. So now let's think about that and move that over to the team, right? Because your team used to have to work with them to fill out those applications. They used to have to tell the person that they were declined, right? How has the culture changed in the business now that, your team can literally have a customer fill out one app and get those approvals? Like, has the confidence level changed in the team, right? Do they want to offer financing more because they know they're going to get the approval? How has that experience changed in the business?
So just think about, the manpower aspect. And here, being the owner of the business, I'm thinking of it. But you as an individual, where is your time best served. If you're in sales, you want to be selling, not doing paperwork. And so prior to all of this, there was a significant portion of doing paperwork, and that was taking away their passion to work with our customers and get even more opportunity and all. So we were losing opportunity before because we just had to keep on doing all this paperwork stuff. And with this approach, now they do it once, and it's, we turned an hour down to minutes. That's a lot more time on the floor working with customers, making the customers more happy. So now that's the employee side. And who wants to fill out paperwork? I mean, that's just a drag. And so now they don't have the negative, they have more of the positive, and so the morale then obviously is up. And the customer has that same thing where before it was wait, and that gets frustrating. We were having people walk out the store because, like, look, I give up. This isn't going to happen. Now it's minutes, and so you don't have that walkout rate kind of a thing happening when you're trying to help the customer.
So I'm going to just roll into the third one because it's literally, I'm going to go with assumed, right? So it's obviously helping you make more money because it's financing and you have more options. So it's driving success in your business. But give us a little insight on how you think FormPiper has come in and help you increase the revenues in your business, or even like saved money, right? Because you kind of nailed it on the last one, saying, well, my team now doesn't have to do this for an hour. It's happening in minutes. So now they're more efficient. So that's saving you time and money on payroll. So how does it affect the overall economics of the business?
It's crucial. Just the concept of having multiple financiers is so critical. Here, Brad and I, again, were just talking a week ago about I need more financiers on my in that FormPiper. Iowa does have some stronger laws out there, and I wouldn't say it's like really bad laws or anything. It's not that much, but it's enough to knock out some of the financiers that a lot of other people get to use. And so I've really seen the effect on my business of having less financiers. So I was talking with Brad going, I need more. So the multiple financer aspect is so critical. I would imagine it's for most industries out there. Over time, like when you started your business, you had probably a good margin. That's why you got into it, or why it was successful. And you found that life was easy. Like you're like, wow, this is so cool. I love it. I love it. You went to work happy and all that kind of stuff. But what we found, and I think what a lot of industries find over time, that margin gets taken away, whether it's competition in the market, whether it's cost. We have developed our breeders at a very high level. And I've talked with the AKC about this, and I said, is it right for me, or am I able to say this? We work with the best breeders in the world. And AKC came back with all of our requirements, all of our standards, all of our transparency that we work with our breeders on now. And AKC came back, oh, heck yeah, there is nobody that touches those breeders. And we're talking all breeders. And well, if you're one of those breeders that is the best breeder in the world, do you think you're going to increase your costs, your price as a result? And guess what? They did. And so I'm like, oh, I created a beast here. They're the best breeders in the world and they want more money. So my costs have gone up, and they were taking our margin away. And so that's where this multiple financer approach comes in, and you can approve more customers. You have to now become more efficient in things. So it's been critical in that, and it has time and time again demonstrated that if we didn't have this option, we probably wouldn't be in business today.
Well, we'll close on that one. Ron said it, without multiple financings, we would not be in business. So there's no question that it's important. If you're in high ticket retail or services, anywhere where you're bringing, something where a payment could be used, the more options you have available to your customers, the more successful your business is just simply going to be. So let's roll into the third one because this one's really cool for me, Ron. I was just at the trade show and hanging out with Calvin and the team. They were showing me their new tech and the way that they're doing this training and doing it online. It's really, really innovative and really, really cool. It's been exciting to see their journey, and the way that they've grown. The service is unbelievable. So tell us a little bit about Tenacity. And I understand they're a dog training company, but when most people think dog training, they think, oh, I'm going to go to a place and have it trained, or I'm going to have that person come to my house and train. They've moved it into more of a technology type system where they can do these remote trainings and do them at scale with people. And so you're able to offer training to all of your customers really whenever they need it, which is really, really a great thing for people who have new puppies, right? So, and now you're providing that value to your customers. And look, I did this for 20 years. That's one of the challenges when somebody buys a new puppy, they got to take it home. Well, they need to be successful in the training because that can be very frustrating for some people if they don't know the steps to, take that puppy and get it to where they, get it housebroken, get it to be polite when people come over and not jump up on them, right? So how have you seen that journey with Tenacity improve your customers' experience inside of your business? And how are they using technology to set themselves apart from, say, like just your normal training company?
Yeah, you're hitting. I want to start with talking a little bit about Tenacity and how they went to this technology, but then I want to jump back to what were we doing prior to Tenacity, and then how did that make us even more efficient? So Tenacity, like so many businesses, things are forced upon you at times, and you have to change in order to adapt. So back in COVID, couldn't have the face-to-face anymore. So they went online and, they started using Zoom and stuff like that. And hey, we can still do it this way. What they found out is that it was more efficient from their perspective for sure. But when they did face-to-face and you bring your dog into the training facility, well, now your dog is in a training facility. It does not know what this looks like. This is weird. I'm looking, the dog's looking around going, why are all these dogs here? I don't know these dogs. So the dogs are very distracted in those environments. Even if you do one-on-one, you're coming into a different environment and it just is distracting to the dog. And what they were finding is when they went to online, they were working with people in their homes and they didn't just get mom. They got mom, dad, and the kids all in on the training. So it was a whole family experience rather than a one individual that was assigned to train the dog kind of a thing. And they were finding that, well, the reason why this is happening is I just saw it. Dad, why did you just do that? You just picked that dog up when it was barking. You just promoted the barking, So they caught things on the video that they weren't catching on face-to-face because dad wasn't there. So that quality of training went up. So that's how they came up with this approach and they've got apps now that interact with the customers. They have AIs. They've built their own AI so that it helps the customer learn more and in their own environment. Plus they do the Zoom one-on-one. There's nothing that AI is great and it's fun and all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing that's going to replace that eye-to-eye look and seeing what's going on and all that, and really working with the individual rather than just the process kind of thing that AI does so well. What we were doing prior to this was that face-to-face in our own store. Prior to even using Tenacity, we were doing it face-to-face in our store. We were seeing all that distraction and not getting the results, but we were also spending a lot of time in our store on this. My resources were all being used. We were trying to do it before store opened so that I didn't take that individual off the sales floor. They were all trained on this stuff, but it was resources that I was having to pay for in order to do that. So the whole concept of Tenacity just now makes sense. Luckily, it is way higher quality and at a lower cost. I mean, that's just like the best thing ever. And then when they have it online with their software interacting and all that kind of stuff, it just is what an incredible journey that Calvin has taken Tenacity on. And how much better he's just that individual that takes things and makes them better and better and better, and then makes them at a lower cost to you as a result. So that just the software made that happen for us. And so I'm so grateful for Calvin to bring Tenacity in that direction.
So your customers are getting a better experience because they have this training that they're able to take with them and really utilize anywhere at any time. Um, how has that shifted into the culture of your store? So I'm working in your store. I'm a pet counselor. I want to find a home for this precious little dachshund puppy, right? And now I have Tenacity training. I have this new asset, right, that I can provide as a great service to my customer to make sure that they're going to have that journey, a successful journey out of the gate. You know, do they feel more confident with those puppies going home? Has Tenacity really elevated the culture of your business, knowing that this is a pillar of value that you can add?
Yeah, and there's 2 points that I want to bring out. Not only with the pet counselor there. So the pet counselor, when they're working with the customer, brings out Tenacity. Tenacity has done some showing how to demonstrate what we do or they do in there with the puppy. So we do some actual training live with the customer to demonstrate how powerful all of that approach is. And then when we say that this goes home with every puppy, so you're going to have this for you, that that's a differentiator for us. Nobody's got that kind of stuff. Nobody's going to get Calvin, that kind of thing. That's just incredible. An international dog trainer that will work with you, kind of a thing. So yes, that helped the pet counselor differentiate us from everybody else. And we make sure that that customer knows that so that they see the quality that comes on. Now, here's a benefit that you probably might not realize just from not being in our industry. So dogs need training. Every single one of them needs training. And every single customer has issues because we don't speak bark and they don't speak our language. So there is a miscommunication right from the beginning when they take these little guys home. And everybody goes, "Oh, I know how to train." But that was 10 years ago when you had your first dog. You don't remember all those bits and pieces that you're going through. So what we got in the store, we get calls, kind of a thing. Prior to Tenacity, we were taking care of all that stuff. And our pet counselors and our managers were spending a lot of time on the phone working through things. First, deflating that dissatisfaction side of things. You sold me this. Well, unfortunately, that's a dog. That's what they do. And we need to help you learn how to communicate with that dog now. And so get through that first, the emotional side, and then get to the solution. Took a very long time for us to do on the phone or when they came into the store. It's a value that we bring. You can always come back to us because we're here. This is different for where else you're going to get your puppy. We're going to help you through all these things, and we still do that. But Tenacity has taken on so much of that load because they can do this over Zoom and all that kind of stuff. So when that customer calls in and says, "I'm having potty training issues," or "I have an aggressive issue," we then switch them over to Tenacity. They get on the phone with them and solve that problem. So having that ability to offload that onto them to a professional, somebody that's even better than what we do, is so nice. Just 2 days ago, my general manager said, "Oh my gosh, I love Tenacity because all I have to do is refer them there. Here's the phone number. They'll pick up right away and solve the problem." So rather than an hours long conversation to get that customer satisfied, it's an easy thing to even get them more satisfied working with Tenacity.
But so just to recap, it's a beautiful two-part, right? So the one part is there's additional value that you can provide the customers, so you know that they're going home with that asset. But then on the flip side, for your team and the culture of your team, they don't necessarily have to be the trainer, right? Like they can focus on their goal and giving great customer experience to the customer. And if there's the need to talk to a trainer, boom, I can pivot right over here, and I have professionals that are helping me, so I can be more laser focused in what I need to do today. And so I feel like that rolls right over into, does it help me save money or make money? Because now your team is able to be more efficient, right? They don't have to spend an hour on a call doing training. So, that team you're getting more benefit from that team's time. And then I'm sure there's some economic benefit to Tenacity. So let's talk about how you're able to utilize that product to drive, revenue and save money in your business.
Right. What Petland does so well is we bundle services. So we've looked at, when you bring a puppy home or a kitten home, there's a lot of expenses that you might not be thinking about. Like in addition to the food and the bowls and the collars, we go and look for, well, what else are you going to, and this is important, need. It's not, they don't go home with what we want them to have. We send them home what they need, and they need training. That's a value. So the value of our puppy goes up as a result. And so we do charge higher prices. But if you go out and get all of the needs that we send home with that puppy, you'd spend a way more amount of money on it. And some of them you probably wouldn't have even employed. And then that's going to cost you exponentially because you didn't take care of it on the front end. Now it's got to be done on the back end, and that's way more expensive. So we bundle all these things together, and Tenacity is one of those critical bundles of training the dog. Here, it's the number one reason why people give up their dog and let alone to a shelter. So they put a burden on the community. I want to prevent that. If it's the number one reason, potty training, biting, whatever it is, talk with your shelter. Those are the number one reasons why people give up their dogs. We don't have that problem. Last time I talked with the animal shelter about this, I go, what's the percentage of all your dogs that you get in over a year? What are from my store? And this is my local animal shelter. They said less than 4%. And they said, Ron, don't even worry about that. Because if they find out that a Petland dog comes into our shelter, it's the first one that goes out. They want that puppy because they know the value that we put into these puppies and where they come from. All these great breeders, canine care, and all that kind of stuff. So Tenacity has allowed us to have a higher value for our puppies. So therefore, yeah, it definitely has helped us on the making money aspect of things. It's definitely a game changer there.
Fantastic, Ron. So one, I think all three of these companies are fantastic, right? I've known them for a long time. You've known them. We've worked with them. But this is like my favorite part of the show. Okay. So you've been at this for 20 years and you've decided that you're going to open up a new location, and it opens up next week. All right. And you're only allowed to use one of these three companies in your new location. The other two didn't make the cut. Which one of the companies are you taking with you? You got Cosmic with your marketing and your dashboards and your efficiencies. You got FormPiper with your ability to transact with multiple lenders. And you've got Tenacity guaranteeing that those puppies are trained and having a great experience when they go home. Obviously, you need all three, but you're only taking one. Who are you taking?
All right. I am going to make a decision. I'll tell you that at the end of this spiel
Okay.
because I as you were talking, I didn't realize this on the front of it. One of the companies helps us at the beginning, filling our funnel, our marketing, getting them into the store. The next company, FormPiper, helps us help them make their meet their dreams and take that puppy home. And then the third one is to help make our customers satisfied on the back end. Isn't that interesting how they all kind of fed through that? And I'm going to say FormPiper, but I feel guilty saying FormPiper because that helps me be successful. We have a tremendous amount of walk-in traffic. So I'm like, that's why I'm like going, well, marketing, I can do without for a little while, but it's gonna start falling. But I need to find ways to spread that payment out over time. So FormPiper is going to help me do that. Okay, well, maybe I just have to take over the training aspect back in the store, and that's what we got to do. So I feel guilty taking FormPiper because it seems like self-satisfying kind of a thing. And the whole front end of what I just said, all three of those companies are required. That's the way. That's what makes it all work.
Well, that's why we talk about three of them, Ron, because most companies are using anywhere from 3 to probably 10, right? Because technology is integrated anywhere in our business. It's funny, I've interviewed some people like, I don't think I use any tech. And then we start going through them and they're like, oh my God, I use 15 different things. Maybe I should evaluate those. And when I'm teaching businesses to be successful, it's about the triangle of success. I like things to be easy, right? And we need to have a good culture, a good presentation of value. And then we need to be able to market and book reservations for people to come down to see our presentation of value. And then ultimately, we need to be able to close that sale. And that's where the applications and FormPiper come in. And so you need to have technology at every single pillar of your business to help automate those processes. And that's what Cosmic's doing for you. They're driving the traffic down. Tenacity is helping your presentation of value, right? Because it's something that every puppy needs. And so I would like to get a puppy from you because of the culture of you making sure that I want that to get that dog trained. And then ultimately we need the transactions to happen. And so we hear it a lot. When people are making that decision, they do like FormPiper because as business owners, we need to transact, right? We have to be able to drive revenue in our business in order to pay the bills. Yeah, we got to pay the team. We got, there's expenses, right? And once we have that pillar, we need to invite people down to our business and we need a great culture. And so they truly do all come together. We need tech. That's why we like to focus on three of them. I think that you've really knocked it out of the park. I think for anyone in this industry, all three of these services meet the requirements of something that a business should be using, hands down, no question. And so I think you've done a great job articulating that to our listeners, so they understand if they're looking at one of these three companies, they should have the confidence to be able to move forward with them. So we definitely appreciate the insights and really diving deep on each of them. So unless you got anything in closing, Ron, we can wrap this show up and let our listeners get back to their busy lives. I'm sure they own businesses and now they want to go sign up for these wonderful products. But anything that you have in closing before we roll out?
No, I think we covered, you did a nice job of the questioning and follow-up. And so I got it all out on all that. Wendy and I, thank you so much for, one, Brad, being you, because you've been so critical in a resource that we tap into and just have appreciated that. And I've said that to you many times in the past and will continue to do that. So I appreciate you being making us part of what you're doing here on these podcasts. And we look forward to any follow-up in the future as well.
We're going to have to do a follow-up because we need to understand if the pressure of lower budgets case study worked out, right? So, so I appreciate you coming on. Very exciting for all of our listeners out there. We appreciate you joining another episode of Board Meeting Wednesday. If you're a business owner and you want to identify technology that can help you drive success in your business, give us a follow. Listen to the podcast. We interview people from different industries. So the pet space, the auto repair space, the furniture space, the jewelry space, you name it. We're talking to business owners that are growing and driving success in their business. So join us again next Wednesday for the next episode. And we appreciate y'all's time. Everybody have a great day.
Board Meeting Wednesday.